What's up? What's up? What is up? It's another Friday, another opportunity to get together and record the thing, the magnificent thing, the beautiful, magnificent, amazing thing known as the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We are in the building today. Today's episode is going by the title of Playoffs. And yes, you do have to say it with that type of accent. Playoffs. That is today's episode. We're going to get into this thing called playoffs. So you don't want to miss this. Boys and girls, cats and dogs, frogs, anything and everything in between, amphibians and all types of species. You don't want to miss this. This is going to be an exciting episode. We're going to get to the bag today because that's what the playoffs is all about. We are in the building. Make sure that you tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone that you know. Hop into this thing, y'all. We can get going. You know how we do it. It's the Ball Hog Sports Talk. And we're going to bring it to you live and direct, rough, rugged, and raw. So let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hog Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go.
Once again, it's on. Once again, it's on. I get to be in front of this microphone, and it is my distinct honor to do so. My distinct honor to do so on every Friday that we get together to record this Ball Hog Sports Talk. But even more of an honor to do so with the man, the myth, the legend, thou shall be respected and intergalactically known as. When you say it, make sure that you say it with your chest. He is from the Middle Coast, and he is and shall be known as the Big Flow Show is in the building. What's up, my brother?
What's good, brother? The pleasure is all mine. Happy to be here on a nice Friday. I think I call it the calm before the storm because, man, we have been in the 80s, 70s, 80s all week, and now it's in the 40s. And I got to stand outside tomorrow for a game. It's going to be in the 30s. Bears weather is what they call it, but I call it TV weather. But
I like whining a little bit. I don't want to.
A little. It's disheartening when they stop paying the heating bill. Up here they close the pool at a certain time, right? You shut the pool down. You just know there's no more swimming. I don't care what happens. We cut the heat off too. We stop paying our bill as a city.
It is what it is.
And the winter just jump on your back. So I try to get through Thanksgiving without real bad weather because I have to be outside every once in a while.
There it is, man. Well, despite the complaining, we know that y'all make them Chirac, Chicago strong. The Windy City, they tough, they thorough. We're going to get to your Bears later on and the ending of that Washington Commanders game. But before we do, man, let's just talk in general, man. First of all, good to see you, man, as always, man. Happy Friday.
Absolutely. Happy Friday.
Second of all, we're at that point of the year, man, because we are past the halfway point, or this week will be past. We're officially past the halfway point because the Jets hosted the Texans last night, and both teams are officially at their 9th game. All the teams after this weekend will be at the 9th game. We'll be beyond the halfway point. We saw a World Series that was, we call it a field of dreams in terms of media because you had the East Coast with the Yankees and the West Coast, the Dodgers. You had arguably one of the best players of all times playing in there, and Shohei Ohtani. You've got the all too early predictions of the NBA playoffs, and then there are all eyes. There are just so many alum, fans, enthusiasts of college football that are anxiously awaiting. In 4 days, we're going to get our first college football committee playoff ranking because there are rankings and there are seedings. We're going to get into that. It's a phenomenal time to be a sports fan, but it all starts with the word playoffs. A playoff, defined as an additional game or period of play that decides the outcome of a tied contest. A playoff. A series of contests played to determine the winner of a championship as between leading teams in different divisions or leagues. Playoffs. While that is the definition, according to Webster or whomever, the real definition is where the rubber meets the road. For us sports fans, the real definition is where legacies are defined. The real definition is where that smoke cannot be avoided. We're going to talk playoffs today. Let's start with NBA. All too early NBA predictions. I know we have, 5 games in, but there's already a line of demarcation between those who are playoff eligible and those who are not. Before we get to that, even in youth football, it's playoff time, baby. My Dark Knights are awaiting the champion of the first round. We got a bye. So trying to find some competition, trying to find some smoke so we're ready for that time. Any words of wisdom? I know you've moved on beyond your coaching years in terms of youth football. But as my staff and I get prepared for playoffs, playoffs. Any words of wisdom before we hop on the NBA? Give me something good, man. Give me a jewel. Give me a gem.
I just say, when it gets to playoffs, you start playing teams from different states and whatever, you got to be able to run the ball. I know that's pretty rudimentary when you think of it, but I've been in nationals a couple times. I've witnessed nationals a few times when I wasn't actually participating in it or my son wasn't participating in it.
Okay.
And you have to be able to run that football.
Run that ball.
You got to be able to run that ball.
Run that ball.
You got to have something in the bag. You find something that's working, exploit it. Don't be scared to call play 3-4 times in a row if it's working.
Because it's playoffs. You lose and you go home.
It's all you're trying to do is win the game.
Creative. Ain't time to be cute. Ain't
all
time
you're
to be
trying to do is
fancy. Ain't
win.
no time to be worried about somebody else's opinion of you and what their analysis is about your offense or your defense. It's win or go home. So you're telling me stick to what's working and make sure I got my run game.
Because the beauty of it is, how many games do you have to win to get to Florida? Or where is Florida the
We got to win. We just got to win one game to get there. The determining factor between if you're Division I and Division II, if you win the whole overall championship, Battle of the Bridges, New Jersey versus New York here to go and represent the region down in Florida. We absolutely plan to be Division I and win those games. But everybody planning to do that. So that's why I'm asking for words of wisdom, baby. I need a reminder. I'm going to write it on the back of my damn play call sheet. I need a reminder. It's playoffs. You win or you go home. So ultimately, you'll win 2 games and then down in Florida in order to win the national championship. Thank you to everyone who has supported our cause in terms of getting down there. And I will be posting a few times in this episode. I will be posting our raffle because we're down to 7 days, baby. You only got 7 days to win that big pot, already over $15,000. But in order to win the national championship, normally you have to win 3 games down there in Florida.
So as far as I'm concerned, you're going to have to go in there, establish the run, establish a play, find that mismatch, and be ready to make adjustments because somebody's going to find a mismatch on you and they're going to do the same thing. It just doesn't work the same way that you play in the season where you want to try out different parts of your offense. Sometimes you get away from what's working and do whatever. I just feel like in nationals, you find out what's working and you do it. And if somebody's doing something that's working on you, you have to have an adjustment and you have to be ready for the counterpunch that they're going to come for.
Whoever makes the first adjustment wins the game and then ultimately puts himself in a position to win a national championship. I appreciate that. Words of wisdom from the Big Flow Show right here. You heard it. And I wrote all of those down, my brother, because I do plan on taking this team down there with the rest of my coaching staff, these amazing families, and winning us a national championship.
Are you 13U or 14U?
We're 13U. Yeah, we're 13U.
Oh.
Yeah, 13U.
So, that's the difference now. You're going to get down there, and the real 8th grader monster division is 14U because all the holdbacks. We won 13U. Are you AYF or?
We are not AYF. We UIFL. We split. We're the division. Half of them were AYF, half of them UIFL. It's a whole different story for a different day.
I'm so old. My son played in the AYFL when the UIFL started. Probably he was in 2nd or 3rd grade.
Oh, wow.
And then we did those, and then it came back to the AYFL.
Older than Methuselah.
I don't know what the status is right now with that, but we we had a good time with it. I'll say that we had a good time with it. We had to win a regional game to get down there. Had to go to Cleveland and win a regional game, and then come to find out, the team that we beat, they gave them the at large bid, so they got to go anyway. So we could have just saved that gas money. Just met y'all down in Florida.
We did the same thing last year with the team we beat because we were both nationally ranked. Ended up going down there anyway. 30-second version of this answer. Greatest memory from any playoff game that you can just right off the top of your head come to memory. It is what? Greatest memory of any playoff
Real
game?
easy. We were in the national championship game against Moval, I believe, from California. I think that's Moraine Valley or something like that. We had a bunch of stars on that team. They were all the whole playoffs. Everybody was trying to stop a kid named Tyler Morse, who plays for Michigan right now. So they were doing that. So they had my son playing on the outside. They wanted him to run the slant so that he could open it up and take DBs away for Tyler. He waved it off, tapped his hip, which meant he's going to run a go route. He runs a go route. This is one of his best friends, a kid named Caden Cobb, throws the ball over his shoulder, catches the ball, national champs.
National champs. Great memory. I hope my greatest memory hasn't happened yet, but we did pitch a bunch of shutouts down there, and defense scored. And when I was on the defensive side, linebacker picks the ball off and changes the momentum back in our favor in the one game that we had been scored upon, which was a kick return. So that was my greatest memory so far. Now let's get to these other playoffs. We got the line of demarcation, although we're only 5 games in. Let's go each division. Who's playoff ready and who's not in the NBA? And then we can really just project going forward. We're not going to be here long in the NBA because ultimately we're about to get to this college football playoff committee. But let's start with NBA because we talking playoffs. What? Playoffs? Yes, playoffs. We talking playoffs today. Line of demarcation, what is it right now as we stand?
So
about 2 weeks into the NBA.
If we had, even though we have 76 games left, some people have got some work to do.
Right? We got some work to do. We're 6 games in there.
So currently, right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, the Pacers, the Sixers, the Raptors, the Bucks, and the Pistons would all be at home.
Sheesh.
On the West, the Blazers, the Pelicans, the Clippers, the Spurs, and the Jazz would all be at home. So you guys, you need to be talking about amongst yourself. Who's going to dig deep, and how are you going to rally over the next 76 games to make sure that you are not left out of the playoffs? I almost want to take a picture of this and think, like, let's talk about this.
We'll talk about it in a few months. But look, we just saw the end of what was pretty much a one-sided World Series. And that season's even longer than the NBA. But at one point in the early innings, pun intended, of the MLB season, like there were these games that you let slip away that towards the end of the season, right? It's easy to focus on the playoff race when everyone's trying to jockey for position. You need 2 more games. What we're doing in this episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk, entitled Playoffs, what playoffs, is we're making these games important. Because every year, especially when it comes in NFL, only 17 games, especially when it comes to college football, with the expansion to 12 teams, you still have every week is very important. But even when it comes to the NBA and other longer seasons, it normally boils down to 1 or 2 games. So how do you have the other divisions so far?
Well, again, if the playoffs started today, the Cleveland Cavaliers have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. And the Oklahoma City Thunder would have home court advantage to the Western Conference Finals.
There it is.
But don't stress. Only 4 games separate last place from first place. All right. So there's still time. My Bulls will be a 3 seed. I kind of like the way we're going through this because I may not be able to talk like this very often. The Bulls are a 3 seed right now.
There you go.
The Heat are on the bubble.
We're on the bubble right now.
They lose another game, they're in the play-in conversation.
We out of there.
Yeah, you're not out there just in the play. You're just in
We're
the
playing.
playing games. You're in the playing games. Right now, the Lakers are comfortable one game ahead, so that they're not in the playing conversation. But all too familiar playing conversation. We don't want to be a part of that. Again, they're only one game behind first place, but they're only one game ahead of the bubble. So,
Look, we tease a little bit, but truth of the matter is, when you go to the NBA site and you look at the standings, they've already created these lines that say playoff bound and not. Why? Because the center of our universe as sports fans, the center of our universe as producers of this podcast and this riveting sports business and entertainment content that you get on a weekly basis, the center of our universe is the playoffs. The center of the arguments when we talk about legacy, I don't care what sport it is, which athlete we are debating, the center of it is what they did in the playoffs, what they did when the championships were on the line. And so we are giving you this way too early look and glimpse into the NBA playoffs, really as sort of a wink, wink, have fun. But the truth of the matter is, this is the beginning of the season that will be 2024, 2025, that will mark legacies. And even these games matter. Let's get into a sport that is a little closer to the playoffs, the NFL. All right, we're at the halfway point for most. We're straddling the fence, right? There is no halfway point for you math people. This would be the middle number. What is that? Not the mode. No, mode is the most. What is it? Median, mean, mode, whatever.
Mean or median?
Mean is average. So it's the median number. Is that right?
Sounds good to me.
It sounds right to you? But it's the game between the middle point, because it's 17 games. This is their 9th game. What do you see? We'll start, if you want to just lick your wounds and at least talk about the Bears game. I'll give you the platform to do that prior to us talking about what does the playoff picture look like for NFL. I'll start with you. What say you, my brother?
I think it's still pretty open. Honestly, the Bears are in the best division of football by far, with the Packers, Detroit, and Minnesota all being very competitive. We let one go we should not have let go. We had the game won. One of our goofy ass DBs was taking pictures for the fans and stunting, and then he got back involved and played just enough time to ruin it. Matter of fact, I think we win the game if he just stays with the fans and keeps talking. Him getting back to get involved to tip the ball up. I've never been on the receiving end of a Hail Mary. They've never invited me to the scrum. But to my understanding,
never too late.
To my understanding, there's got to be someone deeper than the deepest and shorter than the shortest, right?
Yeah, there's a diamond that the offense tries to create. And so the way that you presented it is how the defense talks about it. When there's a Hail Mary that is in the air, the offense tries to create a diamond, someone that's about 5 yards short of the end zone, someone that is on the end zone line, making sure that you are in the end zone if you catch it, and then someone in the back that's for a deflection that's about halfway. The end zone itself is 10 yards, they're about halfway through the end zone. So you got 5 yards in front, somebody on the end zone line, and then someone 5 yards into the end zone. Noah Brown caught the deflection. New Jersey represent, baby. I'm at the median, if you will, because I've been in New Jersey 18 years now, and I only spent 18 years in Florida. Sooner or later, I gotta really buy into this New Jersey thing. But Noah Brown, a New Jerseyan, caught the deflection, which was largely predicated by what are you calling that defensive back from the Bears?
Cut.
What do you call him?
Cut.
Mr. Cut. They're not gonna cut him. But yeah, so that's how you think of it offensively. Defensively, you just said that there's a different approach to sort of counter the offensive approach. But none of those things work for Chicago's defense. The Commanders win, and the legacy of a very young Jaden Daniels is starting to grow rather quickly, might I say. And if we look at the NFL standings, you look at these NFL standings, all right, We can all talk about just how bad the Commanders, formerly known as the Redskins, have been over the years. That doesn't come into play right now. The NFC East, the beast of the East, is your boy, Jaden Daniels, and that Washington Commanders team. Not the Eagles, not the Cowboys, not the Giants, especially not the Giants, but the Commanders. And so a game like that, where it seemed like the Commanders, no offense, but the Commanders had dominated the game. And Chicago figured out a way with one amazing run by Swift, some really lackadaisical plays by the Commanders.
I see where this is going.
The Bears had basically figured out how to win. They snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. And in one instant, boom. Well, really two plays. The penultimate play where the Bears defensive coordinator decides to already be in prevent when there's about 6 seconds left. I didn't like that because they were able to throw about a 12 to 13-yard pass and get out of bounds that set up the play for Jaden Daniels to be able to reach the end zone with that pass. But I'm setting this up to say it's these plays that end in these miraculous outcomes. In this case, a Hail Mary that should never have happened. These are the plays that end up leading teams into the playoffs. And, we've been here before, having the confidence, let's say, in the NFC Championship game, if you would. I'm just saying hypothetically. If you've been there before, you're not as nervous and uptight in these moments. And so Jaden Daniels and that Washington Commanders team has looked good all year. They put a whooping on my Browns 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. And they figured out how to win that game. But I'm setting it all up just to talk about how these outcomes, these miraculous outcomes, and the Bears figured out how to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory after they had just done the exact opposite. Right? These are the games that impact playoffs. Not to put salt in your wound, but
were you done with that jar salt? I thought you. There's still some shakes left if you'd like to put it in there. No, I mean, first, I'd like to put a formal complaint. I don't like extra fancy terms for simple stuff. So I don't want you to use the word penultimate again. Just say second to last.
Second to last play.
It's one of my pet peeve words. Why did second to last deserve a fancy phrase? Huh? Penultimate. Who gives a shit? Second to last.
Second to last. You got it.
All your degrees are already shown off if you say second to last. But okay, so they gave up that play. The problem was you cannot continue to give people a chance to do a play like that where they give them all the time in the world to set the play up. Put some fucking pressure on the quarterback. If you pressure the quarterback and he takes off running, he's not going to run a 50-yard touchdown. Probably. That's what you want him to do. Break the line of scrimmage. He's probably not going to run a 50-yard touchdown pass. Run. But if you send 4 or 5 guys, you at least don't give these dudes a chance to go down and break dance in the end zone. We had enough time for our goofy-ass defensive guy to sign 3 autographs, kiss 2 babies, and get a phone number out the stands and still make it over to the play, just enough time to fuck it up. So we gave them too much time. So it's a shame. It's a shame because the Bears messed up and they tried to hand the ball on the penultimate drive. This is how dumb that sounded. Penultimate. The penultimate drive where they handed the ball off to an injured offensive lineman to try to be in a refrigerator Perry moment, and he fumbles the damn ball. And I knew we still had it. We got the ball. The defense stepped up. They did what they're supposed to do. We got the ball back. We came down, drove, and we scored.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't know what the offense coordinator was thinking.
He wasn't. Same thing as a damn DB. They let that DB call the play, the DB. And then you get there, just finish the game, man. We only got a few seconds left. Just finish the game.
Finish the game.
So anyway,
he's been going back and forth with the fans all day. I don't know if he might be from the Baltimore, Maryland area, from the DMV area. But it was painful to me because you remember the week before I lost based on I being the head coach of a youth football team, lost on the last play of the game and it was down in the DMVU area. Well, the team was DMVU. It was down in the DMV area, and so I just felt I was with y'all, man. I felt your pain, brother. I felt your pain. I know it seems like I'm laughing at y'all now, but I felt y'all pain, man. So the Commanders are leading the NFC East, and this thing called playoffs. We are at the median game, right? The ninth game that is going to separate the two sides of this season. Let's call it the halfway point. You've got the Washington Commanders, of all people, leading the NFC East. Leading the NFC East. They are a game ahead of the Eagles, which is surprising to me. Cowboys are 3-4. The Giants are 2-6. I don't think 3 teams out of that division make it. So go ahead, Commanders. Who would have thought? My man P-Funk, Parnell, man. He's a Commanders fan. He's the only Commanders fan I've ever seen own it. Shout out to them. NFC West right now. This is the division of mediocrity. The Cardinals are leading the division at a stellar 4-4. 49ers 4-4. Seahawks 4-4. The Rams find themselves in 4th place, but still in it, at 3-4. You have the NFC North. The Lions are 6-1. The Packers are 6-2. Vikings are 5-2. And the Bears, in any other year, would be happy to be at 4-3 at this point. But with their last loss and securing the 4th spot in the division at 4-3, right now, on the outside looking in. But anything can happen. Still have half the season to go. Then you got the NFC South. Falcons are on top with 5-3 record. Buccaneers 4-4. And then a mighty drop-off. The Saints 2-6. Panthers 1-7. The Panthers are going to start Bryce Young again. And maybe potential
Then I went back to the dude.
They went back to the dude. They got them at this point to begin with.
These Cowboys, so sorry.
Who's your pick NFC? And you can't pick the Bears because they're in last place in the division. I just made that rule up because I didn't want to hear you say the Bears. Who you got coming out of the division? Out of the conference, man. Some really competitive divisions in the NFC East with the Commanders at 6-2 and the Eagles at 5-2. Very competitive.
If you take the Bears out of there, I'm gonna go Detroit.
You're going Detroit. Detroit is now leading NFC North at 6-1 with Packers breathing down their neck at 6-2 because it's a higher winning percentage with one more game that the Packers have lost versus the Lions. That's why the Packers are the Lions are ahead of that division. I gotta apologize publicly. I didn't think that Jordan Love was going to be who he is. I think that I like the Packers. I like the Lions. I just think they're going to beat up on each other too much. And strange twist, man. I like the Commanders or the Eagles. The Eagles can get it together, but Falcons can't do it. Just don't see it. This is the toughest year in terms of figuring out who's going to come out that NFC. Really interesting. Maybe the Lions do it.
Football's great this year.
Great
college football, college football.
So much parity.
And
it makes, again, I know the episode is called Playoffs, and we've gone back to the word several times. We all have our eyes on these playoffs. When parity sets in, whether it be the college ranks or the professional ranks, it makes the playoffs that much more vital and important because every single week, every single game, it makes it that much more important for you to punch your ticket to the playoffs. We'll go AFC quickly before we head over to some college football. And we are going to dive in. For those of you who are not familiar with the new expanded 12-team college football playoff system that will be in effect this season. Playoffs, yes, playoffs. It's a real playoffs. It ain't that Final Four thing that has been over the last several iterations of college football seasons. This is a real playoff, 12 teams. Stay tuned. We got something good for you. In the AFC, man, you got the AFC East. The Bills are atop 6-2, and it would take a hamstring on the back stretch, one of the Charlie horses, for anybody to catch him. You got the Jets at 3-6, the Dolphins at 2-5, Patriots at 2-6. I mean, god awful. The whole division is bad, other than the Bills. You've got and the Jets figured out a way to win this week. Hats off to them, but not a lot of promise there. AFC West, you got the only undefeated team left in the Kansas City Chiefs. Every year, they seem to be in the hunt. They're in the hunt again. But because of parity, you got the Broncos and the Chargers not far behind. Broncos at 5-3, Chargers at 4-3. And then you got the Raiders looking from way down below at 2-6. AFC North. And here's where you get your payback, because I said that the Cleveland Browns, this was their year, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I didn't think that Deshaun Watson could play any worse than he's already played. And he told me simply, hey, man, hold my beer. But Jameis came in and got us a dub last week, so watch out. But the Steelers are top 6-2. All Mike Tomlin does is win games. Playoffs, that's like the question inherent in the statement of playoffs is not a question when it comes to Mike Tomlin. It's more like playoffs! Exclamation points. The brother figures it out, man. He just figures it out. He's at 6-2. Got the Ravens at 5-3 after their unexpected loss to the Browns last week. You got the Bengals at 3-5 and the Browns at 2-6. Looks like a two-way race in the AFC North, as it has been for a while now. Steelers and the Ravens are top of the AFC North. AFC South is the Texans at 6-3. Lost last night unexpectedly. I do like Stroud. CJ Stroud just seems like a great leader. Afterwards, he said, I think this is exactly what we need as a wake-up call. And what better time to have a wake-up call during the median game, the one right in between. The rest of the season, you got 8 games to go, and hopefully they have awoken. You have the Colts at 4-4, Jaguars 2-6, Titans at 1-6. So the Texans are looking good. CJ Stroud is quite the leader, man. I like what they have going on there. Who do you have coming out the AFC, and you can't pick the Chiefs? I'm just making up rules.
You can't make that.
Making up rules.
The Chiefs. That's what I have.
All right, so who else then? Chiefs, and who would you say they play in the AFC Championship game? How about that?
The Ravens. Baltimore.
You're going Ravens.
But I'm
going Texans, man. I really think CJ Stroud and that team is ready. I do like D'Amico Ryans, a young black coach. I'm going Texans. I got Texans versus Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. All right. Like we ask you guys every week, to those who are watching live, please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone you know. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. Now, we talked about the playoffs in the NBA. We talked about the playoffs in the NFL. Let us hear who you have coming out of the NFC conference. Who do you have coming out of the AFC conference? Chime in. We want to hear it now. It's so easy to say once it's one game left. We got 8 games left. Say it with your chest. Say it proud. Say it loud. Same thing with the NBA. We got a whopping 76 games left. Tell me now who's going to make the playoffs. I don't want to hear your prediction when there's only 3 games left. It ain't really hard to do. We want to hear your predictions now. We know we've had some issues with the comment function. So if you comment and we don't respond, just know that it wasn't, we weren't ignoring it. All right. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes. Let's get into the meat and potatoes. We got to do it. This is the first year that college football will have 12 teams that will enter the additional rounds of competition known as playoffs. That's right, it's the playoffs. 12 teams. Before I do that, I want to make sure I test this comment function. We're gonna pause for the calls. This is how we're gonna pay our bills. We are going to advertise this 50-50 raffle, virtual 50-50 raffle. You click on that. It's already over $15,000. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to double it in 7 days. We got 7 days left. Let's see if we can get to $30,000. That means for $7.50, you could be in position to win 15 grand.
You too, for $7.50, you too could lose
$7.50. $7.50. And more important, you can help young men go and participate in the national UIFL championship down in Plant City, Florida. So every dollar goes to the kids. Please, please, please help the kids out, man. So I spent a lot of my time. Great kids, great families, great opportunities, and great experiences. All right. Quickly, it came to mind as soon as I said greatest memory in playoffs, one rattle right off your brain. Each one of these young people that I have the blessing of coaching is developing these memories. So please, we ask you to help us, and we're going to help you help us by giving you an opportunity to win a whole bunch of money, a big cash pot of money, and you will be helping the kids get to Florida, travel, the lodging, the food, the uniforms. It's all self-funded. So in advance, thank you. Now we got to do it, man. We got to do it. If there are any podcasters out there who are qualified, not because we are two handsome brothers. Well, I'm a handsome brother and you all right. You know, you all right. Not because we are two educated brothers. Not because we got swag. Not because we both played college football, but because we do it rough, rugged, and raw. Because we are the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. Because we are two businessmen to get together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. Who better to discuss this new business opportunity known as the college football playoff that is expanded to 12 teams, that has a very new mechanism that they're going to use to figure out those 12 teams. You got the rankings that have been published from the beginning of time. You got preseason and now the existing week-to-week season rankings. But then the committee is going to create these seeds that will take the rankings in they'll take it in context, they'll take it into consideration, they'll take it into the factoring of what the seeds are, but the rankings and the seeds don't necessarily match. In addition, there's some stipulations into the 12 teams that include consideration of conference championships in order to get to the top 4 seeds. Seeds, not rankings, seeds. Those top 4 seeds have the bye in week 1 of these new 12-team college football playoff system. Does that make sense to everybody? Do you think they're picking up what we're putting down?
I hope so.
First time you hear that described that way, what do you think? And we'll get into more of the mechanisms of it. We'll go through like literally piece by piece how people should be thinking about these new college football playoffs. But when you hear of that, what do you think? Right? It's the first time we've done this. Right? You got, more than a little bit of interest when it comes to college football. You got more than enough experience when it comes to this whole playoff system and what it has been. You hear of the new system, you think of the expansion of teams, you think of the new mechanisms and figuring out seeds versus rankings, which includes the consideration of conference championships. First thing that comes to mind as we get ready for this playoff picture in college football.
What a good place college football is in right now.
Tell me more.
If you look at the teams, I think there's a lot of rules changes that they're thinking about. Excluding the impact that it has on players like my son and different things of that nature. Being able to get some of these older players in college football has really put some more parity into the game. We've got a lot of guys that would otherwise be chasing NFL dreams. They're still playing in college. So because of that, we've got a lot of really good college football teams. We got a lot better quarterback play than we've had in the past. I just think that we're college football is in a really good place as far as the product that's on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This college football playoff committee Structurally, it's the same. You still got 13 members with ties to different leagues around the country. A committee member has to recuse him or herself from discussing any school where they or an immediate family member receives compensation. Do you think that clears up enough of the conflict? In said year, right? They could have got paid from, like, I think Tyrone Willingham at one point was on the committee. They could have got paid in the past, but in said year, you cannot receive compensation and still weigh in on any particular team. Do you think that clears up enough of the conflict?
Say that again. If you receive compensation, you can't weigh in on.
Yep. So in year 2024, if I receive, let's just go with University of Rutgers, right? Rutgers University. If I receive compensation from Rutgers, let's say I'm an adjunct professor, but I also sit on this committee, I've got to recuse myself when any discussions about Rutgers comes up. Do you think that eliminates enough of the conflict when it comes to how these committee members weigh in on the seating?
No, there's still gonna be so much bias, but you'll never get that out of any sport. Anytime you have something that's is with a lack of definitiveness, like the way college is, we have too many teams, 132. There's no way to do a fair system. You're always going to have a lot of bias, and it's always going to be unfair at a certain level. What I look at this year compared to other years is, we have 12 teams. They are trying to mess it up. I've heard some proposals that mess it up. I think if they go top 12 teams, I would rather be sitting here in December arguing about 12 versus 13 than I am 4 versus 5, right? If you look at the top 8 teams that we have right now, if the playoffs started today, I had it up.
But remember, you're going to give us rankings, and the rankings and the seedings are slightly different, although there's going to be some overlap. But
the seedings, I think people will get over as much because of how close it is at the top. But right now, we've got Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Miami, Texas, Tennessee, and Notre Dame. Now, those are the top 8. So, obviously, we got 4 more teams that are out there. I saw some teams that are outside the top 12 looking in. For some reason, there's a tie at 11. But they don't have Indiana's not in there right now. I think they'll take care of themselves if they just keep playing the way that they should be playing. I think they'll come through and they'll get in if they deserve to be in. But they put together a great season so far. There's a couple undefeated teams and 1-loss teams. Everyone's going to think Bama should be in there, even if they lose 3 or 4 more times. That's just kind of the way things are there. But I think it's interesting when you look at the roster right now of teams that are in that roster, but the lineup of teams that are supposed to be in the playoffs in this picture, and you think, what if this is a top 4 get in season? Man, would there be some controversy more than any other year at this point in the season. Obviously, every year we complain about that. Every year when you get to the end, there's usually 1 to 2 teams maybe that we argue about that should be in. I'm thinking that with a 12-team system, we're not going to have that many arguments. And if we do have an argument,
just move the arguments down.
Huh?
You just move the arguments down. You think that there'll be less arguments?
You do have that. You move the arguments down, but you're not as much. Okay, take Indiana right now. They're on the outside. They're 8
as an undefeated team.
As an undefeated team, they're on the outside looking in. Right? They're below. Now, which 2-loss team are they below?
Aren't they? I'm sorry, I'm not looking.
They're above Alabama. They're above Alabama.
There's
still going to be arguments. Will Mitchell, appreciate you chiming in, and those of you guys who are chiming in and we don't see your comments. I found a little glitch where there's a bunch of sources that will not allow us to compliment. So if you see me looking down, I've been trying to fix it. I don't know how to do it, but we do not get comments like we used to, and there's some stuff that we need to do to fix that.
Oh, my bad. I didn't see it, so I'll put those up. Sorry.
And anyway, so we'll see how that works out. We'll figure it out, and hopefully we'll get things right. But anyway, long story short, I don't think many people think the 13th ranked team has a legitimate chance to win. I do think sometimes, like let's take Florida State last year.
Not fair.
Hold on, man. Let's take Florida State last year that was undefeated. Obviously, their quarterback was gone. They proved wrong, but they had a legitimate argument to say we are the best team in the country.
Yes,
they were undefeated. They went in there, and they should have a chance to play. Indiana's the 13th team. I don't think anybody really thinks Indiana's going to go out there and win the national championship. Not that they can't. And again, we're still early. We've got a lot of season left. When it comes to the top 8, we've got a lot of season left because this week Penn State and Ohio State are playing, so that's going to be a big matchup. What
That's a
happens
big
if Ohio
one.
State loses? If Penn State loses a game, are they out of the picture? If Ohio State loses another game, who beat Ohio State? Oh yeah, Oregon. If Ohio State loses another game, are they really out of it? Because now they've lost to 2 teams, the number 1 team, and then Penn State will be like the number 3 team. If it's a close game like it was against that, are they really not worthy of a chance? We're going to have those kind of arguments, but they just get a little bit less stand on your room and go crazy when it's 12-13 versus the top 4. The top 4 or 5 teams, I think, will be more obvious.
I think it's the exact opposite. My man, Big Will, what up? Not only a great youth football coach, but the bros. Always appreciate your support, team. I would argue the exact opposite. I think those are the teams that have been largely, we'll take Indiana. Indiana hasn't been in the conversation about anything near college football championship since the inception of the football program. Mm-hmm. So I would argue that those teams that are not the traditional blue bloods of college football playoffs around this time, they're going to have a more vocal outcry for why the system needs to have these type of teams in. And they're going to have, in my humble opinion, they're going to be even hungrier to make it in at the 12. Now, whether or not they have a legitimate shot, I go to, it's different basketball, but I go to UConn the year that they had to win the conference championship to make it in. The argument has always been if you expand the number of teams and give people an opportunity to show what they can do, because a lot of these teams have more momentum late in the season. The argument has been if you let them in and they get a chance, we will see that there's far more parity in college football than the College Football Playoff Committee has allotted over the last 5 iterations of what we've seen. It has been the wink, reputational input that some of these schools have gotten that have gotten them over the hump when it comes to this playoff committee. But the truth of the matter is, I don't care what you've done over the last 5 years. The playoff committee should be looking into this season, these rosters, and figuring out whether or not this team belongs in this playoffs. And so the expansion to 12, I think, is going to bring an even louder uproar from the teams that are on the outside looking in, especially in cases like if Indiana were to finish their season undefeated and not make it in. It's an even louder outcry because it's including people that aren't normally included in these conversations. Not to mention, you've got the Notre Dame exception that Notre Dame can never be in the exempt 4, the bye, because they don't have a conference championship.
And so, I think that's fair.
I think it's fair, too, because you're eliminating one of the games, right? Now, if we are on our safety and, increased health provisions high horse, it's tough to see where this new model fits into that. Because in order to win a game, if you're not in the top 4, which is essentially, the top 4, the buys are going to be, it's not exact, but it's pretty much going to be what it was, right? Like you win a conference championship, and that is what the college football playoffs were, those 4, right? And then you've got 5 through 12 that are all fighting for a spot. If you're 5 through 12 and you made it to a conference championship, you've got not 1 conference championship, not 2 round 1 of the 12-team playoff, not 3 round 2 of the 12-team playoff, not 4 round 3 of the championship playoff, but 5, that's the actual national championship. 5 additional games that you would have to play in our hypothetical of Indiana making it to the championship, not being in the top 4, and needing to win a national title. I love it from a pure fan perspective, being able to watch more college football at a time of year where Lord knows we got all of that holiday food, we got the candy, we got some days off. I love it. But I got to also admit, the former player in me, the friend of guys that are dealing with a lot of health issues, the realist that looks at my own life very closely, because I did have several encounters with concussions. And so I'm always paying close attention to my cognitive abilities and things of that nature. It scares me a bit. It's a bit bittersweet. There's sports, business, and entertainment. Entertainment, check every box, got it. Sports, check every box, got it. Business, there's two sides of that. There's big business in these games, and there's going to be a lot of, ad revenue and TV money, dollars, ticket sales, memorabilia. On the front end, the business is amazing. On the back end, the legal eye, if you will, and the litigious concerns that I have make me think that there's going to be some backlash to these increased games because there's increased threat of injury. At a time where guys were already deciding not to play because of the risk of injury, it scares me a little bit. I'll give you last word on sort of that. Before we do, actually, let's break down mechanics a little bit more, and then I'll give you the last word on the whole topic. But the mechanics of it go like this. For those who do not know, you came to the right place this morning, baby. Ball Hawk Sports Talk. We got some good information in this thing, baby. All right. So the mechanics go a little bit like this. I talked about those first two teams. Oh, my computer's tripping, of course. I talked about those first few teams, but there's going to be basically the groupings, right, will be 7 groups. So from 1 through 9 on the seeding side, right? And at this point, the seedings are kind of similar to the rankings, but there'll be 7 total groups. The first 3 groups are every 3 spots, 1 through 9. You got 1 through 3, one group. 4 through 6, next group. 7 through 9, third group. All right. Then you got 4 additional groups that are for every 4 spots from 10 through 25. The votes are taken anonymously into a computer system, and only the college football playoff staff is able to see the results of the votes. None of the committee members know. These small little groups are going to give us the analytics to figure out who goes into the playoffs. So all you cybermetric guys, all y'all dudes that was in the front of the math class and got teased, y'all have an amazing opportunity in terms of job security in sports. But this is broken down to the metrics. Do you think we get it right with 12 teams? Or did we just increase the number of teams that are going to be fighting over why the system is broken?
I think we got it better. I mean, you're never going to get it perfect unless they go to the super conference, which still won't work, where they add the 2 teams, whatever, because you're still going to wonder. There's 132 teams. You can't go through 132 teams and not make a mistake as to who should be in. You just can't. Because now it's like, do we judge it off the body of work? Do we judge it off the best teams? Do we judge it off who can win? And if you listen to these snake oil salesman coaches, they all pick the stance that works for them. And they beat their chest and say, this is why I should be in. It shouldn't matter about this. And that same, just like politicians, the same goofies are going to come back the next year.
Man. Come on, man. We come stepping on my toes. Technically, right now, I'm a politician, bro.
You're a glorified volunteer, but So
hey, whoever heard that, y'all discard that. We got an election coming up. Y'all make sure y'all vote. Don't listen to that trash.
Man. But I'm just saying, like at the end of the day, you have these
volunteer. Jeez.
These coaches are going to get up and beat their chest and say why they should get it and why things shouldn't matter and why. And the same exact scenario the next year, if they're on the other side of it, they're going to make that same argument. But I like my chances of not of now they are trying to mess it up. I have seen them say they're going to do 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, and then 4 at large. That's a mistake.
Yes.
And
You
that's a
think
mistake.
that messes it up when they start being specific
Yeah,
about?
I think just the top 12 teams. I don't care what conference they're in. Maybe if you want to do top 12 team, limit for conference to say so you can't have 5 SEC teams in there. I would say that, but I would say to give you the top 4 in the SEC and the top 4 in the Big Ten and say that they're automatically in is a disgrace, because we want the best teams out there. BYU could be one of the best teams out there. Boise State could be one of the best teams out there. Why should we be denied that opportunity? And I think it's a much better. We watched the Big Ten play each other all year, right? We watched
Right.
the SEC play each other all year, and they have a conference championship that's going to kind of determine that. And again, you still got a little bit of a chance for a mistake because it could be, the last, who's playing well now. Maybe somebody, like you're always going to have those scenarios where the first 2 or 3 games of the season they didn't have their quarterback situation right, and then they found a quarterback and now they're balling. You're going to have that kind of stuff, but it can't be at everyone else's detriment.
I will add this because you talked about the conference championships. I just want to put this in there. The way it's set up with the 12 teams, in order to do it right, rematches are not considered. So the committee doesn't care about that. I know that when it was just 4 teams, whether we directly or indirectly as a group of fans or as the committee themselves, whether it was indirectly or directly, there was a big push to not have rematches. Not only can there be a rematch, but there can be, because of the first round being hosted by the higher seed, there can be a rematch at the same location. And that's the only way they could do it to make it fair for all 12 teams. You cannot consider, the committee cannot consider rematches as a way to figure out their seeding. And I just raised that because there are going to be some questions, man. There's going to be some questions. I'll give you last word on it before we get out of here, man. I do want to talk briefly about these dunks, and then we're going to go home for the day.
I think rematch. I don't understand why rematches don't count. That's stupid. I count the second game. The first game doesn't count. Whatever the rematch is counts. The second game doesn't count, or the first game shouldn't count, because that's who you are today, right? That's closer to it. And maybe I sound a little hypocritical because I understand. One of my complaints is people are like, "Oh, well, it's a different team today." I don't know. I just keep going back to, I can't wait to these damn playoffs. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be the best year ever for football. It's already one of the best years ever for parity. I love seeing upsets. That's one of my favorite things. Maybe there's a hater in me that needs to be satisfied, but I like the fact everybody got a chance.
Hey, I'm asking all of those programs. Which camera we at right here? I'm asking all of those programs. They're on the fringes, the 12 through 18. I need you to go do some research. Look at what Alabama and Georgia, Notre Dame. Look at what these teams have done in creating a campaign to get in. University of Florida did it. Utah did it. Urban Meyer was notorious for it. There have been some of the most notorious coaches, well-known, well-regarded coaches that have created their own campaign to get in. Start setting up your campaign now in this election season. Do what you need to do. Be very loud and boisterous. That's the only way you're going to get in. It's going to be the same effort, just move down a few seats. I got to ask you before we get out of here, man, which catch do you think was the best one-handed catch? And when I ask that, I'm asking you simple and plain. You had Odell Beckham Jr. one-handed catch, and we've seen that several times. Let me see if I can show you both of them. Let's see this one right here first. Let me get this one first. You had Odell Beckham Jr.'s one-handed catch. Oh, this is perfect. You got both of them right there together. Versus last night's one-handed catch. Let me share my screen so you can see it. All right. Which one do you think was the best one-handed catch ever? Oops. Show that one. Which one do you think was the best one-handed catch ever? Let's see if I can get it over here. I can't, but you can see.
I gotta go just off watching the video. I gotta go Odell. I gotta go Odell because it's he's more extended. You know what I mean? Like he's reaching back further. You know, what's his name looks kind of like the Jordan figure going straight up, but Odell reached back and his looked like it was flying out of bounds, and he did it first. So I got to give it to Odell.
Crazy is both of those one-handed catches happened in the same stadium, MetLife Stadium. Garrett Wilson with the Jets, Odell Beckham with the Giants. I was at the Odell Beckham game. I was not at last night's game. But as a receiver, I'm gonna put some hater in. It's the gloves, man. All these doggone one-handed catches, man. These kids ain't doing that, man.
I did hear it's the gloves.
Yeah,
that's hating though. That's hating at its best, but
that is pretty much hate. I gotta admit, I was hating with that one. This has been the playoffs episode. The what? Playoffs? Playoffs, gentlemen. Playoffs, ladies. This is the time where we all start to narrow our focus. The playoffs determine legacy. The playoffs determine championships. The playoffs determine how you and I, as fans these days, we're not players anymore, as fans, do we go to work mad on Monday? The playoffs normally determine that. And the same thing is true for youth sports. For all of my youth coaches, my man Big Will in the building, anybody else that's dealing with these young people, keep a steady hand because it's just another game. Although it will determine if you win a championship. Make sure they have the medal for it. Make sure they have the conviction for it, the courage for it. Most importantly, make sure that they have fun. This has been our episode. Give you last word. Anything, Big Flo, before we let them go?
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everybody. It's November 1st. It's going to be New Year's before you know it. Enjoy your people. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your life. And enjoy your weekend. We appreciate you as always. I did put in the comments, and I'll put it again. I did put simple and plain. I put the raffle in there that goes to our youth football endeavors to try to get these kids down to nationals. It is already over $15,000. They have a week left. I'm trying to grow it twofold to make it $30,000. For $750, man, you go get you a ticket and help these young people out, whether it be travel, lodging, uniforms. The national experience and getting to see kids from around the country is an amazing experience. We do plan to win the national championship and bring that trophy home, the UIFL Division I championship home. But either way, we cannot do it without your help. So please support the raffle. And then please support the Ball Hog Sports Talk. Please like, please comment, please share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone you know, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the podcast. From the bottom of our hearts, the Ball Hog Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. Two businessmen get together to discuss sports in an entertaining fashion. We do it one way and one way only, rough, rugged, and raw. The Big Flow Show from the Middle Coast was in the building today. And I am your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy, a.k.a. Coach Bobby, a.k.a. the Councilman. From the bottom of our heart, we ask you to continue supporting us. Like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anyone you know. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and the podcast. And with that, we is out. See y'all next week. Peace.